Hey you guys, hope you guys are doing well. It's been a while since I've made a video on GPU, CPU cooling. If you guys recall, one of my first videos, I think it was my second one, was the cheapest and quickest way with no technical skills required to cool down your GPU, right? At the setup I said it was like $30 to $40. When I looked at it again today, it's actually only $25. All you need is an aluminum heatsink. I'll drop all the link down below. This is a $15 aluminum heatsink. You need some thermal pads. The thinner the better, and then a fan to cool. I do have AC Infinity fan. This one is one USB connected to two, one to blow air in, one to suck air out. You can use any fans you got extra at home, right? Or you can buy one for $10, but I use AC Infinity. It's a good brand. The setup of this, right, the mechanic of it is the same as a regular GPU, where if you think about it, there are three fans down below, right, blowing air up, and it cools down the fin, which is connected to a heatsink, and the heatsink makes contact with the processing unit, which you can put some thermal paste. You're supposed to put some thermal paste on. Now this is exactly the same, right? So I have a thermal pad, and I have an aluminum sink where I'll lay it on top, and what that does is the pad makes it so that there's more contact area. It transfers the heat from the sink from the backplate over to the sink, and then the fan blows air through and cool it through the fin. So it's just the exact same layout, but basically for $25, I've seen all of my carts drop. If it's in this layout, it has dropped 6 to 8 degrees Celsius, and now I'm going to prove it to you. And this is backplate memory, right? The memory junction, or the memory temp, that dropped 6 to 8. You can see I also have the thermal camera this time. That's going to be the definitive proof, right? I'll let it run the whole time while I go through Amazon for you guys. But while I'm doing that, and I also have, as you can see, an LED light. The reason being is, if you look over here, my camera, there are two cameras on the thermal. One is for the heat, and one is actually for the outline, right? You can see the outline of my hands. And on there, you can see the outline. However, if there's no light, then you can't see the outline. And because of that, watch this. Watch the thermal. Okay, once I turn the light on, you're going to see outline of all the objects in the PC. You see that? So I'm going to turn it off one more time so you can see that the outline disappears, right? But if there's bright light, you're going to see the outline. There we go. So that's the reason why I have this, so you can kind of see the outline. As you can see, so right now, where that is pointed at is 61 degrees, and it's pointed directly at the backplate. Now, if you look from the backplate down right here, it's about 65 degrees Celsius. If we take a look, if we point the thermal on the top down, just this side is 61, and then the actual card itself right now, it's around, I believe it's 96, but by the time we put this on, after a while, it'll drop down to 88. So what we're going to do is, with the thermal, keep an eye on the thermal. It's about 61 right now. That's just the top backplate. I'm going to put the heatsink on top of it, and then we will see it drop, okay? Slowly. Give me a second. I'm trying to do this with one hand. And I can't cut off the other camera because I want to make sure once I stack the video, the two videos stays intact. Alright, so we'll continue to watch. As you can see, the moment I laid that on, right, it drops to 42 right away. 42 Celsius. So we'll just leave it. Eventually, we're gonna see that this heat, the heatsink will heat up. It'll take a while. I think it takes like 20-30 minutes to heat up. But the fan will continue to cool it. But what's going to happen is, because the heat is dispersed, it helps because there's less heat on the back plate, which means less heat on the memory. If you think about heat, you can't just make heat disappear, right? The way you can heat things up or cool things down, one of the ways you can do it is through conduction. If you have two adjoining surfaces, right, two adjacent surfaces, heat will transfer, right? Meaning, for instance, if this was hot and I touch my hand and my hand is cold, my hand will heat up and this will cool down slightly, right? So that's conduction. So basically what we're doing is we're creating conduction right here by having contact from the memory chip, the backplate memory, the memory right on the back right here. Let's switch over to the photo. So hopefully I'll get rid of this video. I'll put a photo on. And let's switch the voice. Yeah, I'll start talking on the other one. All right, I'll be right back, guys. Let's keep an eye on it. All right, guys, so we're 6 minutes in right now. I'm gonna fast forward this and then come back once in a while. So remember before when we pointed directly at it, when we pointed directly at the backplate, it was at 61 degrees Celsius. As you can see, it's somewhat stabilizing. It'll continue to heat up, but not by much because the heatsink is starting to cool it down. But I will continue to record this, and then I'll just fast forward it once I compile the video and come back and tell you the timer. Right? I should have had like a little watch right here so you can see, but I didn't. Sorry. Alright guys, so we are 10 minutes in. I fast forwarded the video and I moved it around because the camera kept moving around. I tried to keep the cursor right in the middle, but as you can see it's stabilizing at about 54 degrees. It should get up to about 55, but like I said, this is the quickest, cheapest way without taking your cards apart if you don't know how to take it apart, how to repat, how to quickly drop your backplate by 6 to 8 degrees Celsius, right? And now it depends on your fan too. If you got a stronger fan, bigger fan that can blow and cool these fins down faster, or if you use copper, conduction on copper is almost 2 times as much as aluminum. That will work even better. But as you can see, we started out at around 60, 61 Celsius, and we're at this part of the plate is 54 degrees Celsius now. While I'm recording this, I'm going to speak about how the backplate works. So here's a picture that if we take it apart, as you can see, this portion of the backplate of the GPU, right, makes these are where the fins are, and the 3 fans on the bottom blows directly to these fins to cool the fins down. Now the fins is connected to a sink where the sink make flush contact with the CPU, and that will cool the CPU down, or sorry, the GPU down, the processing unit down, right? But on top, now if you look on the other side, for the memory junctions on the back, these are also making contact with the same sink, right, through thermal pads, but it's not cooling it down fast enough. So the way to accelerate the cooling, like I said, the way to accelerate the cooling is by adding a backplate on the other side of it, the same backplate, similarly to how the fins work on the bottom with the fan, but just add the backplate on the back using thermal pads in between to make flush contact, and then having a fan. The stronger the fan, the faster it will cool down. But as it cools down, not only does it keep your memory junction cooler, right, your memory's cooler, the memory chips, but it also keeps the GPU, the processing unit, cooler as well. Because if you think about it, the fans below not only were trying to cool the processing unit, it was also trying to cool all these additional memories. So when you add this, it speeds up the cooling, it accelerates the cooling, right? So it helps not only the memory junction by adding this, but you're indirectly helping the GPU as well, the actual processing unit. So let me know if you guys have any questions. I found this really exciting. I figured once I get the thermal camera, thermal sensor, I'll do more videos like this. Let me know if you want to see other videos. I'm already seeing some inefficiencies with some of my CPU, the way it's laid out with the cooling unit. So if you guys enjoy these type of videos, please let me know. I can definitely make more. For me, this thermal sensor is really, really exciting. So I get to actually see where the heat are and how it cools, and whatnot. Right now, just on the timer that I'm looking at it, it is at 13 minutes. This is pretty much, yeah, that's heated up. That's like the stabilized temp for it. It's pretty hot. Not too hot, but pretty hot. And as you can see, after 13 minutes, the back plate from this view sits at about 55, and it has stabilized at about 54, 55, right? So before this, remember when we recorded from the very beginning, it was at 60 to 61. So you can already see how effective this is. Just to be sure that this does work, I'm not going to turn out the camera now. I'm going to walk away, and it's at 13 minutes. I'll fast forward, and then I'll come back in maybe another 6-7 minutes, around the 20 minutes mark, to see if it goes up, right? Just to be sure. So both you guys and I can have a definitive conclusion, right, on whether or not the back plate is cooling. Maybe, you might be watching this and you're saying, oh no, that back plate is just, it's a big heat sink. It's just right. It's one thing to cool down the back plate by transferring the heat to the heat sink, but is the fan actually removing the heat from the heat sink, right? Is the heat sink able to release the heat? That's the other question. So the only way to do that is by leaving this on a bit longer, making sure it stabilizes, and then seeing what the temperature is at. So I'll be back, guys. It's at 14 minutes right now. I'm gonna go get some water. Be back. Hey, you guys. We're at the 16 minutes mark now. It's stabilizing, so 55.1. It's barely moving up at all, and this is hot enough now. It's not, yeah, it's just as hot as when I took it off earlier. So it looks like it did work, right? We started out at 60, 61. We're at about 55 right now, and it has stabilized after the 16 minutes mark. So like I said, I'll drop the link down below if you guys are looking to cool your carts down this way. Get it to drop 6 degrees for 6 degrees Celsius for $25. Thanks a lot for watching, you guys. It would really help if you guys smash that like button, and feel free to subscribe if you want to watch more content like this. All right, take it easy. Have a good one, guys. Bye.